First of all, what is R3Pack? What's the mission of the project? Basically, this project is financed by the EU through the Horizon Europe, and it aims at eradicating plastic from food packaging. This is a 3 years project we've kickstarted last year. And it gathers 24 partners from 7 countries. We do have a 8.5 million budget to do so. And this is the dream team. And I've seen actually that we have common partners with the Fitness 2 project. We have 2 major retailers with us, Carrefour and Système U. We also gathered different food industrials, and to close the loop with all the necessary expertise, we also work with universities, experts, packaging manufacturers, and so on. About the food categories, the industrial that are in the consortium embrace a lot of different products. And we have solid products, liquid products, and it's quite challenging because the packaging requirements can be very different from a product to another. So on the R3Pack project, we focus on 2 pillars that are at our disposal to remove plastic from packaging. So first of all, substitution, replacing plastic by another material, and mainly fiber-based packaging, but that's not the subject today. Today we'll focus on the reuse part of the project. And when I say, just to be precise, Justin talked about it earlier, but when we talk about reuse, we talk about returning, and more specifically returning on the go, which means user return the packaging at the store or a drop-off point. So let's focus on reuse and its challenges. The first thing I'd like to say is that reuse is not really a question, it's not just a question of packaging, it's a global transformation. Having said that, it requires, of course, the involvement and alignment of all the actors in the value chain. So you have to work with the upstream and the downstream of the chain, but also with your competitors. We're convinced of that, and our partners as well, because otherwise reuse will never be at scale economically or environmentally. So I'll go into more details about different challenges. So we've made 3 buckets of challenges. It's not supposed to be exhaustive, right? But it gives an overview of what we're facing. The first one is the packaging itself. With the industrials, we firstly had to define what would be the targeted reusable packaging, what shape, what material, what volume, and so on. And the challenge is not just to define individually what is needed, but align the industrials and their constraint on common packaging for products sharing the same needs. This is like the idea of standardization mentioned before already. It's clearly to bring environmental performance and economical viability to the reuse scheme. Otherwise, it won't be viable. Then another gap, also mentioned before, the food safety. How to make sure packaging is still safe after, 20 or 30 years, and in more specifically when it comes to plastic, because a packaging as a product inside, okay, but during it will undergo stresses linked to the use of the packaging, to the washing throughout its different lives, and we want to ensure it remains safe despite these stresses. And this is why our partner SGS worked on a food safety protocol and a washing audit grid. And thanks again, Eleonore, for being part of the discussion on it. And bad packaging, I would say, last but not least, is the industrial feasibility. I mean, when you change from a single-use glass bottle to a reusable one, I mean, it's not a big deal, right? But when your packaging line is set up to pack products in films, for example, and tomorrow you want to switch to a preformed bucket, it's a total transformation of the process, of the equipment. It means investments as well. So this is why we did the industrials of the consortium. We're figuring out on how to pack and also the impact on the shelf life. So packaging, first big bucket of challenges. The second one is the operating model. It's probably one of the most complicated parts when it comes to design a reuse scheme. You have logistic flows. I often say it's a logistic nightmare, and you have to make sure they are optimized, these flows, to have, again, an environmental and economical performance. And for this, we work with Unibo, University of Bologna, on a mathematic model able to define the best flows depending on various factors. That can be the positions of the factories, the distribution centers, washing centers, packaging weight, and so on. Also, the traceability. Traceability is key, right? Key to follow the money flow, key to secure the dispatch of packaging, and so on. And also interoperability. This is also really key. We want to create something that is interoperable, since it involves different. It's not just one retailers, it's a multiple retailers project, but also with the industrials, there are quite a lot. And we're open to put in the scheme other actors as well. So if we want tomorrow to make it a loop that is at scale, because it's the purpose also, we want it to be interoperable. And so that's it. I mean, there's a lot to say about operating model, but if we try to say it in a nutshell, that's it on this part. And of course, the third big challenge is the consumer, because reuse is definitely a new way of consuming. With the consortium, we're trying to build up a consistent and visible offer for the consumers. We also have to design the best in-shop experience to secure the adoption. Once again, it's a new way of consuming. We used to do that 50 years ago, but it's not the case. People lose the habit of it. So we have to secure this adoption, and this is why with Carrefour and Système U, we're making hypotheses on, for example, where to put the reverse vending machine, where to communicate and how to communicate that it's a reusable packaging. And yeah, we are making hypotheses, and we'll A/B test these different hypotheses during the demonstrator. At the end of the day, we also, of course, need to study the consumer behavior to implement in the system the solution that will maximize the packaging return rate, because we know that this KPI is definitely to be followed if you want, and once again, environmental and economical performance. To do all of this, you've seen all the partners at the beginning, but the partners of the project involved in the reuse pillar are in the screen. You can see there who does what. So as you can see, out of a bit more than 24 partners, 20 of them are involved in the reuse pillar. And the purpose of the project is not just to set up a theoretical model for return on the go reuse scheme. Definitely not. It's really oriented toward an ambitious willingness of the partners to implement and scale up the reuse model, something that will help them to be involved in such new models. And to do so, we'll run out a very ambitious demonstrator set up in 3 steps. The first one we've called blank test is to secure different parts before going on the market, to secure the challenges, some of the challenges I mentioned before. Then we'll start gently, I would say, with the first reuse loop across 6 shops. So off between three at Carrefour and 3 shops at Système U. And all of this, phase 1, phase 2, will help us to carry out a controlled test and learn on each node of the system, and find out what needs to be optimized before launching a wider rollout. And for this first step, third phase, we're talking about 30 shops still off between Carrefour and Système U. And the shops will be located in 3 different countries: France, Belgium, and Luxembourg. And that's pretty it. I would say, to conclude this presentation, that we're proud of coordinating such a project with committed partners who are going beyond competition to work together and define a new way of consuming that will be good for our planet. So that's pretty it for me, and I thank you for your attention.